Hey guys, what's up? I'm Yalek, and here is a fun hit that I just completed a little while ago up on Aleppo, and I wanted to share it. Let's see, do we... yeah. Well, actually almost 3 hours ago at this point, but you get lost in the game. Anyway, so this was a 4-4 base, and I had tried this guy a couple of different ways. Looking at his prototype layout, my first thought was to try Grens, but I am not the best in the world with Grens. Let's just put that right out there. And so that didn't end up working. Probably someone else could make that work because this guy has 2 lasers and a shield gen way to the back of his base. So, you know, you're going to want to start dealing with the boom cannons and the shock launchers. But I found that the lasers, given his damage boost, were doing really a surprising amount of damage, I thought. And so the Grens were just getting toasted. So needed to change strategy. Considered, like, I started thinking about team ed and stuff, which is generally a desperation point for me. And then I just kind of stepped back for a second, and I remember seeing a hit that Ryan from the PSC Life did, and so I 100% stole his tactics for this base. So with the 2 lasers, I have way more GBE than he does, but with the 2 lasers, my idea was, okay, we're going to BART down the back one, so that's out of the picture. And I will end up having enough GBE to deal with something else, and I choose this rocket launcher to the left-hand side. The shock launcher to the left-hand side is a bit of an issue too, but since it has a much shorter range than the rocket launcher, I decided to go with the rocket launcher. So specifically removing those 2 towers. This one, Mr. Aleppo here has put directly on the beach. So this rocket launcher should be fairly easy to deal with. And this laser I'm going to combat by dropping Private Bullitt right about here. And fun fact about lasers, when they lock onto a target, they stay locked onto that target until that target is destroyed. This is why, if you've ever looked up like the Cooker core hit or the Green Court core hit, which generally, I mean, you've got a core surrounded by a ring of just usually a bunch of lasers. This is why those core hits work, because when done properly, either Bullitt pops out of smoke first and all of the lasers focus on him, or sometimes it's a Scorcher, so the Scorcher pops out of smoke first and the lasers have enough time to lock onto the Scorcher, and then they are occupied as long as the Scorcher remains alive. That works here too, so drop Private Bullitt down here, and this laser should stay focused on him entirely. And so then I figured we can just run a standard RZCM hit, which is going to end up leaving us, this is going to be dispatched pretty easily. This is being BARTed out, that's being BARTed out, and that's going to leave a standard RCCM hit. This laser should be occupied with Private Bullitt, and that means we have a rocket and a shock launcher. And those are our main problems to deal with in approaching this base. So here, BARTing, as I said, this looks, I could be wrong, this looks like a leaderboard layout. I'm assuming he stole this from somebody. Now, looks like a leaderboard layout does not necessarily mean is a leaderboard layout, but he's certainly trying. Now, so I'm using some critters to try to clear mines over here because the mines are really heavily arranged towards the front of the base in generally geometric patterns, which is what I mean partly when I say looks like a leaderboard layout. However, at the same time, Private Bullitt was losing his health surprisingly quickly over here. So I did end up throwing some shocks on the laser as well and the stuff around it, because there were 3 boom cannons in the area. So to be fair, he had a lot of work to do, and Energy Drink wasn't doing it, and he just dropped. But that didn't really matter. I mainly needed him for the front part of the base, and the back part of the base at this point is looking pretty good. We want to stay away from the shock launcher, obviously. This one should drop momentarily. There are a bunch of critters there. So now we've gotten down most of the things that really worry me about this base. But you'll notice that my troops are kind of desperately low. We've got some Zookas, we've got 1 cryo, and we've got some medics. I threw some critters here onto a shock mine so that they would be locked in place and get shot while I sort of traversed up to this spot up here, because now we're going for the shield gen. I've been throwing artillery onto that machine gun there so that it would pop pretty quickly when my troops got near it. Zook is sort of spread here. Some are working down on the HQ, some are working on the shield gen, and here this is far enough away that I can be out of range of it, but this boom cannon started to fire, and that had me worried. I had 1 rifle remaining, took that out, and took out 1 Zooka, so, and then that scared me a little bit, to be honest. So I threw a shock onto it, but that ended up not mattering, because when, I mean, I'm down to what, like maybe 8 Zookas there? It's not a lot, but it's just a matter of how much time is on the clock, which ended up being plenty. But as it turned out, I was out of the range of the boom cannons and the shock launcher. And down goes that base. That's like the first tough base that I've seen in maybe a week. Like, nothing was tough before with the remote hack. So that was fairly clever, I thought. That was kind of fun. I mean, clever in the sense, I mean, it was a good idea, except obviously it wasn't my idea. Like I said, totally stolen from a leaderboard top-level player, Ryan, who's, you know, actually good at this game. But it worked, so I guess that means it must be a good idea. I'm happy to use good ideas whenever I can stumble across them. And, you know, lo and behold, it leads to results, so I'm all about that. Anyway, that was cool, that was fun, and that hit led to a map clear for the end of the night, which is, you know, always a pretty good way to finish the night. Anyway, that's all good. I'm headed off to bed. Hope you guys have a great night. Drop a thumbs up if you care to, and yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow. I'm out.